afternoon and welcome to another GotSafety webinar presentation. I am Rick Roman.
And I'm Michael Crowley.
And Michael Crawley on my side as usual here. Today we want to talk to you about some information that I know a lot of our clients are out in California that received invitations, but we also realize some of you have locations out of California, and really that's who we're talking to. California already has its own stricter regulations in play. So this is really going to be to the Fed OSHA regulated states, but let me share my screen here and we'll get right into this.
As you're putting that together, if for all the people out there in the webinar land, Rick and I before this were talking about dyeing our hair to get rid of the gray hair. My question for you guys out there, what do you think about a guy dyeing his beard? My wife says if I do it, I'll look like a gigolo or something. So I don't think I should be dyeing my beard. But as Rick's trying to get ready here, I degrade our webinar with this ridiculous comment, but we just feel like Rick's got a lot of gray hair going on, you know what I mean? And my beard isn't looking that much better. So, Rick, you got it in right so that these wonderful people don't have to hear me talk about this anymore.
It's looking good on my end.
Okay, I was gonna say, you should be seeing the screen now.
Yeah, I see the PowerPoint and that's all.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So anyway, what we're talking today about is this new National Emphasis Program, or an NEP as they like to call them, for the COVID-19. Of course, this has been the topic for the last year, it seems.
It is.
And so Mike, talk a little bit about what an NEP even is. What does that mean? What is that?
I've got a little paper here, Rick. I'll just kind of skim it a little bit. The National Emphasis Program, or what we're talking about today, the NEP, everybody in safety likes a good acronym, are temporary programs that focus on OSHA's resources on particular hazards and high hazard industries. Existing and potential new emphasis programs are evaluated using inspection data, injury illness data, really what data is going on. So what we're saying is an NEP, or a national emphasis program, is when the government says, or OSHA says, we have some problems that look like they're a rise. We don't see these problems to be lasting forever, but we want to create a program without having to go through the whole thing to create a new code. We just want to throw this program out to you and say, we're going to do this for a temporary amount of time. Sometimes it's disclosed, sometimes it's not disclosed on the temporary status. So that's basically what an NEP, or a National Emphasis Program, is, Brother Rick.
Yep. So, you know, it's kind of like a flavor of the month, if you will. They're seeing problems in a particular area, and they just want to put an emphasis on this. And this particular one right now is slated to last for the next year.
Yeah.
And so as I get us here started.
And Rick, when you say flavor of the month, Rick, you wouldn't think that there would be an inspection of the month or a code they're going to pound you on for the month, but it does. When you say flavor, I think of 31 flavors in my largeness, and they would have a flavor of the month. I always like that. You don't see those too much up here in Utah, but God bless 31 flavors.
So on March 12th, Fed OSHA announced that they would be enacting this national emphasis program for coronavirus. This national emphasis program is to ensure that employees in high hazard industries are protected from the hazard of contracting COVID-19. The program is meant to cover three things. So there's really three components to this program. There's outreach, there is compliance assistance, and then there is inspection targeting. So let's look at who really this is going to apply to. Now, as you look at this wonderful map here of the United States and the different color codes.
And Rick, we don't see the map, good brother, for the record, just so you know.
Or is the slide up showing the map, or?
I see the slide of the gentleman in the hard hat, the opening page, Rick. I don't see the next slide.
That's all I'm seeing too, is your cover slide.
Now we see.
There we go.
There we go. There we go. Hey, Haven, how you doing?
I don't know what the delay was in it showing. It's moved over on my side, but okay. Now that we've got the slide up, as you look here at the different colors, the Colors that are in the powder blue, if you will, are federally regulated states, and that's who primarily this is going to cover initially anyway. The dark blue states also will be included in that, because those dark blue states, the navy blue, they have state plans, but those are only to cover state and local government workers. So any private industry is really covered under federal. So for the intents and purpose of this webinar, it's as if those dark blue states are powder blue as well. The medium blues all have their own state programs. Of those, you can see 4 of them, California, Michigan, Oregon, and Virginia, have actually created their own COVID plans. We did a webinar on that, the code 3205 in California. So each of these states already have their own plans and enforcement of those plans. Yes. Everybody else, even those with state plans, are still kind of operating off of the Fed OSHA recommendation to follow the CDC guidelines.
Correct.
And so the other blue states that have state programs, you'll notice at the bottom there's a date there that says May 12th. Those states have been invited to participate in this program, but they have to notify Fed OSHA in writing by May 12th. As of now, we don't know of any that have done so. So we're really talking about, if you're in one of these powder blue states or the dark blue states, that this program is going to apply to you.
And so as it applies, and Rick, let me just reiterate some of the things that we make sure we're all clear. The states like California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, the states that what we're calling the medium blue, those states don't have to comply as quickly. And there's also a caveat. They may never have to apply with it because California's already got regulations. So Rick, I am in the belief, and I think you are too, that California will not adopt this regulation because they already have created multiple codes that we've done webinars on.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
but we do have companies with locations across the country, and so you need to know that even though California, in their strict guidelines, this is coming down. The NEP is coming down across the rest of the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the ruling came out on March 12th. When does this start taking place as far as any kind of enforcement and what have you? Well, it starts tomorrow.
The great tomorrow, Rick.
It starts tomorrow, March 26th.
And Rick, when you change the slide, why don't you just tell me you're staying to the slide so I can let you know when it pops up on the screen.
Perfect. I have changed the slide.
And Rick, I concur. The slide has changed on our side.
All right. Thank heavens. I was hoping we weren't going to have a massive delay. So one of the things that's kind of unique to this particular NEP is that if you look up here in the top at the middle, it says inspections are not normally initiated under an NEP until a 90-day outreach has been conducted. The issue is that OSHA is taking the stand that we've already been doing outreach for the last year. We've already been, if you go to their website, I've got that at the bottom here. You can see they got the coronavirus and all the resources right there at the top. They've been sending out things that you could look at the left here, letters and news releases, doing seminars, disseminating information about these and the pandemic. Working with the various cooperative programs, and so they have been doing things. And unless you've been under a rock, there's nobody that hasn't heard about some of these things, right? And so they're kind of taking the opinion that your 90 days are already up. So we're starting this tomorrow.
We don't even get the 90 days, Rick. Nobody's going to give us the 90-day love.
No, we don't get the 90 days that we normally would. They're stating basically we've already been given it and then some.
I'm shocked that Biden isn't giving us a 90-day love, Rick. I really am shocked by that. That guy, he is such a good guy.
Well, let's see here. We'll leave that part out of it, but
okay.
So as we go on here to basically the second component, which is the compliance assistance and the
Yes.
things that are out there. And there is assistance, Michael, that OSHA offers businesses, but
Yes.
there's caveats to some of these that I'm going to want you to talk about. And let's start with just OSHA consultation and the fact that they might be able to give you some guidance, but what can you tell the folks about OSHA consultation?
So when we talk about consultation, first of all, I want to say I need to be very respectful to these great hardworking state workers. They are actually good people that are doing their dangdest to keep us safe. And for that, let me just say, I love them, I respect them, and they're great. But here are some of the caveats with the program that are a little bit of the fine print. When you use an OSHA consultation system, they kind of daggle out something and kind of hang out there for you. So you kind of feel like, well, I can get into the VPP program or become a status with them where they won't cite me. Yet there is no circumstance that you could go through that they won't cite you. They allude to that. They allude to the fact that you may not get cited, but I promise you, if you have an accident at your facility, all gloves are off, they're coming in. Now you could say, well, they won't hit me on a routine. Well, it really just depends. I've seen this. I've done this for over 20 years. We've been around for over 30 years. The reality is I've seen this all different ways. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So here's the skinny. The consultation service is a free service that can come out and show you what you've got going on. But a lot of times in the consultation service, if they find a serious hazard, there is no question you have to fix it. Now, they won't cite you for it, and I understand, but you're going to have to fix it to their standards. And if you don't, they will refer you to the citation side of it. Cal OSHA consultation cannot be brought into a hearing to be able to testify against its sister agency, the enforcement side. They will not do it. They're not there for that. And so the consultation really helps you out, but since they're not going to defend you from OSHA, they're not going to really consult you on what to do if you do have a problem. They're there just to show you basically what the code is. It's a good operation, but I find that it leaves you wanting because it kind of sells a business that if I do what the consultation says, I am all good. I am, and this is a bad word to use, OSHA proof. And that is far from the case. There's nobody that can make you OSHA proof. What you're really looking for is somebody that can give you the consultation, but also defend you if the crap hits the fan. And obviously that's our specialty. I'm not suggesting consultation isn't worth their free service, but you've got to be warned that if you have machines, circumstances that are kind of riding the edge of something and you don't have the cash flow to change everything overnight and spend $6 million to buy new machines, this is a tough operation to use at times. And you need to be worried about that when you bring that into play. That would be my logic.
Yes, and they do have, like you mentioned, the voluntary protection program,
Yes.
but in order to even be able to qualify to get into one of those type of programs, you have to have claims that are below industry standards. So you got to have low X mods. You got to place some strenuous programs in place. So if you're prepared to do those, there could be a benefit possibly there with doing that. But you just got to know, you got to be prepared that you're going to be towing the line, and it's going to be a pretty tough line. So that's the second part of it, is so they're providing all the resources, or trying to provide all the resources, right, to arm you with what you need to know so that you can keep your people safe. But when it all comes down to it in the end, and did my slide switch again, Michael?
It did, Rick. Your slides, I have concurred. The slide is switched, Rickles.
All right. Well, after all of their best efforts, they got to make sure people are doing what they want them to do. And so they've kind of broken up people into two groups. They say it's two groups, but it's really three groups, because in the first group, which is the primary group, well, there's two groups in those. And as you could see here up at the top, these are basically medical fields. And then the ones below, Michael, so these are really the primary targets of who they're going to be going out to visit. And look at those businesses that you see. You've probably been seeing them in those industries in the news. Yes, Mike?
I have. Those industries are really getting hammered. When you're looking at the offices, the dental offices, the animal, the poultry, the discount department stores, these are really the first lines of things that they're going to be going at across the country in the dark blue states and the light blue states. Yeah, those are going to be it. But there's a
So
secondary one, right, Rick?
yes, there's a secondary. I mean, these are really, this is their primary list, which they
Yeah.
broke up into two categories, basically being medical and then non-medical. But these are the guys that understandably are probably having the most COVID problems, right? You got the hospitals and people where sick people are going. And then of course, we've all seen the meat plants and what have you. So if you're in one of those industries, you're going to be one of the highest likely people to receive an OSHA visit, just to have a look-see and see how you're doing in this area. The second list, Michael, if
And
you
it's
will.
looking good. The second list is really a secondary list of different things, from food manufacturers to other problem or coal productions, chemical processing plants. I mean, you can see the list in front of you, the transportation and nursing, nurse garden centers and stuff like that. So when you see this, you've just got to know that there's a first, there's a secondary, and then there's just everybody else that are going to have to comply. So don't think that if you don't tie yourself to somebody on this list, that it just doesn't work. For instance, I don't fall anywhere on this list. We're a safety consultation business, and we do sell some products, but the reality is I don't see office or stuff like that. Now, I could be brought into construction because I do a lot of construction, and I frankly could be brought into the manufacturing area because we have a serious amount of manufacturing too. And I've got hospitals and all that. So I'm kind of one of these guys that rides the edge of all of them. And so I look at it and go, this is something that could affect me if the state of Utah adopted this standard. Because I'm in
Yes,
a light blue, I'm in a medium blue state, right, Rick? Like
exactly.
California. I'm in a
We're in the medium blue. And so unless if Utah were to advise that they're going to adhere to this, then we would fall into that as well. But you
yeah,
can see, I mean, just from here, general merchandise stores and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
It's
really
really
pretty
going to be,
broad.
yeah, it is.
It's you know, so I mean, even on the primary one, I didn't comment on it, but I mean, even staffing companies are actually up at the top. So if you're in any of these industries, just know that you're just, you know, maybe you've never seen OSHA out at your work sites before. Some of the Fed states aren't quite as heavy on the enforcement, generally speaking, as California, but you're quite likely to see them, you know, a lot more likely now.
Yeah.
So those are the people that will be, you know, their top focuses of who they're going out to. So now let's talk about, Michael, if we could, about the type of things that OSHA is going to be looking for. The top of the list is really, these are the CDC guidelines
I
that
know.
they've already been pressing that we need to do. And below you'll see some of the existing codes, and talk a little bit about how some of what's at the bottom, how they could tie it to what you see at the top that will allow them to be able to cite.
God bless OSHA. I just love these guys. I love them to death. So here's what you're seeing. You're seeing a list in the light blue on the top of the screen. You're seeing what the CDC guidelines basically are that they're trying to enforce. Underneath, you'll see a bunch of 1910, 1904. So anytime you see a code that starts with 19, you know that's a federal OSHA code. So as you see these, you can say, well, how are they going to tie the CDC standards to a code that they can cite me with? This is how they do it. These are the codes that are pretty general based. For instance, the general duty clause down there, they are just, they're utilizing all of these things to be able to say, use a face covering throughout the workplace or we're going to cite you. So we're new at this when it comes to seeing the citations roll in just yet. I monitor the citations through the country. We're seeing this, so when we start to see some, we're going to notify you guys so that you can see what people are getting cited for and whatnot. But the reality of it is, as you look at it, this is pretty broad. The individual inspector is going to have so much power to be able to tie this to it that it's a little interesting to be able to see how they're going to enforce this. This is quite a bit, because you could be living in a state like freaking Wyoming, right? And I'm sure they're not wearing masks everywhere in Wyoming. I can tell you they're not wearing them all over Idaho. And the reality is they just have a different problem when it comes to the COVID than, let's say, a Los Angeles does or a San Francisco. And so sometimes in the COVID, we're COVID judges. We see people without masks. We're like, oh my gosh, they don't care about people. But then we're all in different areas particularly, and we need to choose for ourselves. So in this, right, how are they going to enforce it? There's some codes on the books that are already so vague that this NEP is going to be able to how they tie it to them. It's it's going to be interesting to see how they do it.
And it opens up a whole broad
You know,
things that, other things that they might see as well. Wouldn't you say, Mike? I mean, they might be there with this focus, but boy, you weren't expecting them to come in, and now they're there. They see other unrelated issues. You could have problems with that as well.
you really can. I mean, when OSHA comes out and they start poking at the bear, what they'll be is they'll be able to see a lot of different things that they got going on there. So be careful with that.
Yep. So, so the bottom line is that you just need to, if you're not doing these things already, Michael will talk a little bit about those of you that are already clients of ours, and some of the resources that we've already put together for you.
Yep.
But you, and this is some of the training that we have available to help you make sure that you're, doing what you need to be compliant in these areas. Michael, talk a little bit about, like the documentation that we've created for those that are already clients.
So if you're clients of ours, just know this, that we've created the documentation that fits the state that you're in. So California, your codes that you've been under, our documents that we've updated and we've got going on are really complying with those COVID programs there. So on our past webinars that we've done, I'm sure you've been following along with us, know that nothing has changed on that front. We're bringing this out because we have a lot of national clients in California. If they're going to adapt it, which I don't think they're going to, they would have until what date, Rick?
Well, till the 12th of May. I can't
12th of
imagine
May.
that. Yeah,
12th
they've
of
already
May.
got stricter standards.
Yeah, so the 12th of May, California can send a letter out saying, all right, we're going to take this, but their standards are so much stricter in California. So I don't think that's going to be the way. But when it comes to the training programs that you see in front of us, I've got more. But one of the benefits you have as a client is you can ask me for anything and I'll produce it. So please, please, please turn in those requests for topics. If you have a certain spot or a unique circumstance that you can't find training on, we'll create this for you at no charge if you're on our system. It's one of the things that makes us great at this. And my writing team will contact you before they put it in a final status. They'll show it to you and get your opinion and say, what do you like? How do you want this? Do you want it to lean more this way? What are you looking for? And let our research and development team put that together for you. You'll really appreciate it. But yeah, this is really something that we've got to pay attention to.
Yep. So real quick before I just get onto this last comment, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. We're going to be answering your questions here in just a minute. But as Michael mentioned, that we've written the programs outside of those 4 states that don't have a state COVID plan that is required based off of the recommendation that OSHA made months ago. We created an infectious disease plan. So any of you that are in any of those blue states that are clients of ours already have that, which have all those CDC guidelines. So you really have all the information that you need to be complying with that stuff, so that if they do show up at your place, you'll be prepared, and hopefully you're doing those things. Haven, do we have that? That's pretty much, there wasn't a whole lot of information to disseminate here. We just really wanted to let those of you outside of California know that this is coming down the pipe, and basically what it means and what state it applies to. So we've kind of gone through all of that. Haven, do you have any questions for us, bud?
We do have a couple questions here, but first of all, we got people telling you not to shave your beard.
Don't shave the
looks
beard.
great.
What? Gosh, that's kind of you. Jeez Louise.
This lady says, don't do it. You've earned your beard.
You know what? Thank you, sister, for letting me know that. I'm going to keep my beard now. I was thinking about going just because it's a lot of skin. You know what I mean? To be showing somebody at one time. Since I don't have the hair here, I got to cover here. So I don't. It's just too much to absorb. You can't. It's too much face. Yes, I will. We won't dye the beards, Rick. Maybe for St. Patty's Day next year, we'll go green or something. What serious question do we have, Ethan? What serious?
All right. So a lot of people are asking if we can send them a link to the California one too. Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Well, to the webinar that we did, is that what you're talking about, Haven?
Yeah, the California only one.
We can send the link. If you just go to YouTube and do a search on Cal OSHA space 3205, or even OSHA 3205 will probably be the first video that pops up. And that's our webinar, and it gives a lot of great information about that as well.
Okay. And then one person asked, what would optometry fall under? Do you know that? The 62111?
Yeah, optometry is gonna fall in the medical. It may be one of those. It's not on the list that we could see, but I'm telling you, you're gonna fall into the medical where you have outside clients coming in, and so that's gonna be one of the. And I would say probably somewhere in the first go around that they're gonna want to enforce the first ones.
All right, we've only got a couple more here, so if you do have a question, go ahead and type it in. But someone wants to know, are citations for record keeping actually being upheld by the courts?
Yes. If you don't have record keeping on your trainings, then you've got an issue. I mean, a reason why I built the GotSafety app was on that basis alone. I mean, there are many times people do training, but the records aren't there. They can't find training records, and they're upholding them in this. Remember, when you say the word courts, it's an arbitrational system, the OSHA defense system. This is why you don't have to be attorneys to do it. Most attorneys do not dwell within the OSHA system because of the simple fact that it's just low fines. You're not going to pay somebody $500 an hour, $600 an hour to do illegal work when your fine is only $10,000. Give it a few hours, you might as well just pay the fine. So when you see this kind of a thing, OSHA is really an arbitrational system. And so they uphold the training records. If you have done training and it's not put in some sort of trackable format, you did not do the training at the point of hearing. Case in point, somebody passes away, a tragic accident, a forklift accident or something, and then you say, well, we trained him, but I don't have any records on it. But I've got Bob, Joe, and Mike here that'll tell you they were in the training with him. Yeah, that doesn't fly. That's not a strong argument to go with. Now, I can't tell you exactly what every judge is going to do across the country, but when it comes to the California clients, that ain't going to go. They are not going to be friendly to you. Is when you have a problem in your facility, an accident, a death, a loss of a finger, some sort of amputation, trust me, you're going to want training records. There's just no other way around it. Our system and our app does it quite well, but paper records are great, but depending on who's organizing them, they get lost, misplaced. It's tough.
And beyond the training records, even especially with COVID, right? You've got record keeping as well for like your 300 logs, and you got to keep all of those records as well. And the 300 log violations, you see those all the time as well. So you got to be maintaining all of those records.
So it's kind of a vague question because we don't know what training records you're speaking of, but we don't know of a training record that isn't cited when it's not kept. So there you go.
And then how do they confirm if their state has adopted the NEP?
Rick, that is a good question. When they have until May, Rick, what was the date?
May 12th.
Well, May 12th
so.
to see if they've adopted it. But if you're in one of the light blue, excuse me, the medium blue states, Rick, I don't know if you can put that map back on the screen at all.
I can.
So, but if you're in one of the medium blue states, just know this: they have the opportunity. But I'll just give a rundown. California, they've already got something. They are not switching over. Now, Utah doesn't necessarily have something, but they have their own state agency, thus why they're medium blue. So Utah very well could put this in play, but I'm not sure they would, just because of the political climate there. But how do you know when your state switches? We're going to hear about it. We'll be sending out a list of states on May 12th that hit. Rick, can we do that?
We can do that if any of them jump on board. You can also go to the OSHA website and then go under the state plans.
Yeah.
And once you get to your state, I'm sure if they adopt it, there'll be something on their site that says so as well.
So let's make a note to send a mass email out on May 10th, 12th, 11th, whatever, saying what states have adopted and what states have not. Let's just make sure we do that for everybody. That's
yep, we can do that. We'll send that to all the registrants here.
And we got one more record keeping question. They're doing monthly training and they just have somebody, they just pass around a sheet of paper and having the employees who are there sign it. Is that enough?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. The answer is sure. I guess. Now, the reason why I'm a little vague on that is basically this. You really need to have a lesson plan. I've always believed that lesson plans are vitally important to the cause. I've seen a lot of citations over the years that people get saying they didn't do training on a certain subject. Then they say, yes, I did. They pick up a piece of a note paper and they say, listen, we trained on forklift safety and these are the people that attended. Then the next question is, well, what was in the training? Because you didn't have a lesson plan and this sign-off sheet titling what lesson plan to follow up with, there really is no way to see what you verbally talked about. So a lot of people say, I do safety once a month. We go out there and have a safety meeting all the time. And the answer is, well, you do. But if you're not using a lesson plan, if you're not using a sign-off sheet that says, I understand, you know, at the bottom of it. So if you have a piece of paper that you're just using, please write on the very least the name of the lesson, the entire things you covered, all the bullet points you covered, which can be daunting. And then on the paper put, by signing here, you understand and acknowledge that you understand all the things that are being taught. You'll keep to these principles. And if you had any questions, you'd go to your supervisor. See, those are the things that you want it to be a document. Now, I've got sign-off sheets that say all this on there. So please just give us a call. We'll give you the sign-off sheets. But the lesson plans are vitally important. This is why I say, and I'll say again, if you have a unique training, you got to call us, because I need you to have a lesson plan. When I'm sitting in an OSHA hearing from somebody that's been amputated, they don't have an arm on their body anymore, their wife can't get hugged right, whatever the thing is, and people are looking to take lots of money, we need to protect the business. The ample story is, I need a record sheet that shows who got trained, and I need a lesson plan that shows what we covered. Those are the two things that make it a no-brainer. Otherwise, it just gets soupier and vaguer and wider of an area that can be hit and attacked. Tough.
And then I think this is our last question here, but it is about record keeping too. They're documenting their permanent employees, but when they get COVID-19, how about recording the staffing agency employees? Do they need to keep records on them too?
So in the world of OSHA, there is a group called a multi-employer work site. The multi-employer work site is usually held within the construction industry, but it is also used under a staffing company. So let's suggest you're a manufacturing shop or a warehouse where half your employees are staffing. Trust me when I tell you, you need to be making sure those people are trained. Let's say you have employee number one that is sitting in there. He is a staffing employee. He gets injured on shelving or something. The staffing company can get cited as the responsible employer, but the company that's leasing the employee can also get staffing on being the controlling employer. They are controlling the job duties of that individual on a daily basis. So there's three categories: the responsible, the controlling, and the exposing employer. In this kind of a right, the manufacturing shop would be controlling and exposing because it's their equipment. The responsible of the employee would be the staffing company. So in that realm, do you have to train and track them? You betcha, because the staffing agency is probably giving them a borderline training of what things are, but it really is up to you to get them. Now, both of you can get cited, but yes, the question is, you've got employees there that are yours or staffing, you're OSHA-wise, you're training, you're tracking, you're making sure they're good.
And when OSHA cites two companies like that, Mike, do they split the fine? Is that what they do?
No, they do not split the fine. So if the fine is a $20,000 fine, one guy gets 20, the other guy gets 20. And I can always tell you what happens in that kind of a fight. In that kind of a fight, the staffing company says, it's not our fault. They should have been training. And the employer says, it's not my fault. It's not my employee. And so this finger game starts to get pointed, which gets very uncomfortable between you and the staffing company. It's going to get odd because for them to do well, they've got to throw you under the bus and vice versa, back and forth. And OSHA really has a lot of fun with that kind of a circumstance because what most people don't realize, it's a multi-employer work site and you both are equally liable. And your argument really shouldn't be the other guy should have done it. That is 101 bad mojo to start doing. That is bad mojo.
So they just get to double dip, basically. They nail both of you.
You know what? Everybody loves a little double dipping. soft serve ice cream, double dipped in chocolate. You know what I'm saying, Rick? It's delicious.
That's right.
Double dipping. I know OSHA likes it too. So they've learned how to double dip.
All right, you got anything else, Haven, or was that the
That's
last
it.
one?
That was the last one.
All right, Michael.
Well, let me say we're grateful that you guys have come to this webinar. We've had about a little under 700 people. Everybody's tailing off. Good luck to you. If you have any questions, let us know. If you need us by any chance, we'd be grateful to answer your questions. To the very, 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 very small people that have attended this webinar by invitation that are not clients of ours, if you have any OSHA problems or you need anything or questions answered, or you need a low-cost way to take care of all these problems, give us a call up to us, our sales team, and every day we can show you what we do, give you a free demo. My name is Michael Crowley. This is the great Rick Roman.
Well, thanks again, all of you, for attending. We hope this was helpful information for you. And as Michael said, call us, email us, whatever you need. We're happy to answer any questions you got. Till next time, you guys stay safe, and thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys.